Hello, welcome to part 3 of The Way of the Superior Man. We finished part 2 dealing with woman, now we're on to part 3, working with polarity and energy. Today we are talking about chapter 23. Your attraction to the feminine is inevitable. Masculine men are attracted to forms of feminine energy, radiant woman, beer, music, nature, etc. If a man tries to hide his attraction, it reveals some degree of shame with respect to his own sexual core. And I like this chapter because a lot of times we think being a superior man or being spiritual means no attachment to worldly things, and women are kind of like the most tempting of the worldly things. It's not about But I think the spiritual path is not about being this stoic rock that's unresponsive to everything. Um, like how the north end of a magnet will always be drawn to the south end of a magnet. Right? Masculine polarity will always be drawn to feminine polarity. It's natural. It's nothing bad. If we think it's bad, if we feel shame about it, that's when it will fester in our shadow, and then it may manifest as kinks or perversion. So being able to recognize it as natural, integrate it as our whole being, and choose our response to it, right? Because the attraction will always be there. That's not controllable, but our response is. So that's what this chapter is about. What is the most appropriate response when we feel attraction to the opposite polarity? If you are like most men, you probably hide the amount of sexual attraction you feel toward women every day. At work, on the street, and in the grocery store, you see women that turn you on. Sometimes you might want to have sex with them, but many times the feeling is more of a wave of refreshment washing through you. Seeing an especially radiant woman can fill your whole day with delight. A woman's exquisite scent can transport you to an enchanted paradise. A woman's smile can melt the moment into sheer beatitude. And this is interesting because in today's society, we've kind of vilified that feeling that men get towards women. They think, oh, it's bad. For example, like the Me Too movement and things like that. Not that that's bad, because that's really important. Bringing awareness to sexual abuse and things like that. But sometimes we kind of go a little bit over, and when we vilify this natural attraction, um, then we lose the gift we're able to receive from the feminine polarity. Um, it's very natural for the masculine to be drawn to the feminine. So I remember watching this TikTok where it was just on men being distracted by women. So like a woman will walk past, a man will fall, and then he'll walk into a door or he'll trip over something. So it's just very natural. Um, and what's most important is how we manage the attraction and not the attraction itself that is bad. So the next paragraph goes into this. There are two ways to deal with your daily of attraction to the feminine, wisely and foolishly. To respond wisely, you must understand why you are attracted to whom. Your sexual essence is always attracted to its energetic reciprocal. Masculine men are attracted to feminine women. Feminine men are attracted to masculine women. Balanced men are attracted to balanced women. And just thinking back to that attraction, right? The more we try to suppress it, it's kind of like a tug of war, right? The more we tug on it, the more it's going to tug back. Um, the more we try to suppress it, the stronger it gets. That's why it can end up turning into the kinks. Like imagine if you have a garden hose. If you just allow it to flow, then the water circulates, and that's like our energy. We can circulate it through our body and use it. But if we think that something's bad and then, we try to bend the hose, there's a kink there, and then there's a buildup of pressure, and then that can either turn to an explosion somewhere else. and have negative consequences that way. About 80% of all men have a more masculine sexual essence. These men, of which you are probably one, are attracted to all things feminine. Not just feminine woman, but anything with feminine energy, anything which is radiant, alive, enlivening, relaxing, and moving. Feminine energy gets you out of your head and into your body. Music, beer, nature, woman, they are all forms of feminine energy. And that's why there's that attraction, because the deeper we go into our masculine pole, the less in touch we will be with the feminine side. So the more we get into masculine logic thinking, the less we're going to be feeling the sensual flow of feeling. Um, and so naturally we become drawn to that missing part of us or that imbalanced part of us. And and things that get us into feeling are like beer or like weed, um, being in nature, listening to music, um, being on the beach, looking at a sunset. These are all forms of feminine energy, and they're not bad. It's just a natural attraction. It's not like, oh, there's a sunset, I'm not going to enjoy it. Of course, we're going to enjoy it. And that's the same way we can think about feminine energy in the form of radiant woman. It is not just a visually gorgeous woman who attracts you. If a woman is free and radiant in her feminine energy, you are probably attracted, sometimes more attracted, sometimes less attracted, but always attracted, at least enough to steal a glance at her form. This attraction is not only natural, but healthy. It is a sign of polarity, the same kind of natural flow of polarization by which electricity flows between the positive and negative poles of a battery. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's why there are men and women. The nature of nature is polarity, from the magnetism that flows between north and south poles of the earth to the attraction that flows between your masculine core and the feminine radiance of a woman. I like this paragraph. That's the nature of nature. Okay, we think of our material world or like this manifested world as duality. So there's always going to be your opposite, and we're always going to be drawn to the opposite because in this manifested world where there's going to be an incompleteness of sorts, and then our opposite, our hopes of joining with our opposite is for that complete sense of completeness. And I really like how he says that it's not only natural, but it's healthy. Um, because at the end of the day, all our emotions and all our urges, these are all messengers. They just come up. They're not necessarily controllable. Right? What's controllable is our response and the action we take to them. But these emotions and urges themselves, they just come up, based on our genetics, our past trauma. They're not necessarily something within our direct control. So it's almost as if, we allow it to come up, we feel it, you might as well enjoy it, and then we choose the action that will most serve love or the world or your purpose. If you feel uncomfortable with your attraction to women, you are probably uncomfortable with your own masculine essence. If you feel it is demeaning for a woman to be the object of your polar attraction, then you have probably disowned your masculine core. You have energetically emasculated yourself by condemning and suppressing your native desires. You are negating your sexual essence rather than being at home with it. Now, this paragraph kind of hits home. It's a little bit hard to do in today's society, where attraction to women is seen as a bad thing. Right now, what is glorified is equality, or even women having power, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if we cause men to feel shame about this natural attraction, they are no longer allowing the masculine energy to freely flow through them, and we're no longer able to receive those full masculine gifts. And so This comes back to feeling what we feel without shame and judgment, but tempering our response to our external environment. So, sure, we can feel it, but don't allow yourself to feel shame about it. However, you may choose to act in a way that isn't, you know, fully expressing that feeling, because you're tempering it to your external environment, but you're still allowing that energy to flow and circulate in your body. Um, Another note I want to say about this point is that David Deida talks a lot about the 3 stages of development. Kind of the first stage is the macho man, second stage is the sensitive man, and the third stage is the spiritual superior man. And what's really important is that we can't skip stages. So if we don't fully own our masculine core, we can't truly become second stage. We can only become what I call the faux second stage. So it's like, oh, I'm this nice guy that's sensitive to a woman's needs and can help her, but he's not truly in the second stage because he's never owned his first stage. He's never known his full masculine power. And in fact, I would call that kind of negative stage one, because it takes work to truly own the masculine core. Right? Because right now, I feel, societal norms can be very emasculating, and it's important that we reclaim our masculine essence for ourselves. It's only after we fully own that masculine essence that's when we can truly progress through the stages, right? If we're going to forever deny that part of us, it's going to stay in our shadow, never going to be fully integrated, and we can never fully express our true being and our true gift to the world. Any negative attitude you have about your attraction to women is a sign of fear. Somewhere along the line, you learned that such attraction was bad or evil. Your attraction to women, all kinds of women, is natural, normal, and beautiful. In fact, it is an aspect of the same desire that will ultimately lead you to spiritual freedom. Um, okay, so let's go into this next part before I go into my spirituality rant. Your desire for a woman is an aspect of your desire for pleasurable oneness. Your confession of desire is a confession of your desire to embrace life. To embrace life, to relax into oneness so that all opposites, including masculine and feminine, find their unity in love, is to be spiritually free. Eventually, you will recognize that all desire is an aspect of your native impulse to give love. From beginning to end, your attraction to woman can be seen as the essential gesture of your heart, your desire for love and unity. And I find this just so incredibly beautiful. And a lot of religions, Taoism, Christianity, lust can be seen as a bad thing, can be seen as a barrier to spiritual growth. But here it's saying that it's something that we can use to reach a higher spiritual state, because what's underlying the lust isn't sin or evil. It's underlying the lust is a yearning to be whole, to be one, right? We have a desire for the opposite polarity, in this case, the feminine, because we are masculine and we wish to feel that wholeness or oneness when we combine with a feminine essence. Um, but what's truly under that desire just for physical oneness is for spiritual oneness, to feel one, to feel complete, to feel whole, um, to feel like no separation from anything, the oneness. And so I really like this because I find that sometimes, right, because lust or sexual desire can be one of the most strongest cravings or feelings that we get as humans, because that's the drive to procreate that has led to generations and generations and evolution and all that. So it can be very difficult to focus and meditate when we feel that desire. But if we feel deeper than desire, we realize this yearning for physical sex is actually a deeper yearning to be one with God or the universe. And if we can tap into that, it opens us even further. And I find that when I'm meditating and get distracted by lust, and I tap I tap down to that deeper desire. It's like, oh, actually, this is what's leading me to open further to God. Like, sure, I might want that person, but what I truly want is that spiritual freedom. And then if I can tap into that, it actually gets me deeper in my meditation. So, sure, lust, is seen as a sin, but actually we can use it as a pathway to um, even further spiritual growth. And I've explored a lot of different religions, and really I feel like David Deida's work inspires me the most because um, you know otherwise I'd be suppressing and like, oh, I shouldn't feel this way, this is not good. But no, it's like, no, when we use it, oh, then it actually gets you to a even higher state. um okay. If you are a man with a masculine sexual essence, you will always feel sexual polarity with anyone who animates feminine energy. You may feel this attraction many times a day with many women. Enjoy it. Women are a blessing. The feminine, even in the non-human forms of a lush tropical island, a cold beer, or your favorite tune, could make the difference between dreariness and eyeing and ecstasy. Our acceptance of sexual attraction, even with music and places, is at the root of our capacity to experience bodily pleasure. And, being on this earth, right, in this temporary existence, in our human body, it's like, why not enjoy it? It's there, right? Like, if you're out and you see a sunset, why not pause and soak it in? If you're walking along the street and you see a beautiful, radiant woman, why not just enjoy it? We don't have to act in a way that doesn't serve her. For example, catcalls or something like that. And we'll get into the action later into this chapter. But right now, it's just soaking it in and enjoying the energy. Um, Sexual attraction, however, is very different from having sex. There is a big difference between choosing to be intimate with a woman and simply being attracted to her energy and radiance. Intimacy is a choice between people who want to commit to loving and serving one another, whereas the zing of attraction is a choiceless natural flow of energy between your masculine core and feminine energy, wherever it is found. When a woman is relaxed in her feminine radiance, she is like beautiful music or a warm ocean breeze. You don't need to have sex with her to savor inexpressible joy. And this is the key thing that I think society doesn't understand, or that the society can miss, which is that it's totally separable, right? Enjoying a woman's feminine essence is is separate is separable from being intimate with her. Um, because sex brings along a lot of karma. Anytime you have sex with someone, there's those bonds, and then uh, things can get messy. But simply just enjoying radiant feminine energy, wherever the source is from, uh, is um, is separate. Uh, and it reminds me of this this uh, this study I read. The or wait, is that for my next? No. So this study found that men who stared at pictures of naked breasts over time, I forget how long this experiment went on for, but they at the end of the trial, they had lower blood pressure than men who did the control group. So I found that very interesting because, you know, feminine radiance can be a gift. You don't even need to like be physically there touching or possessing the woman. It's just feminine radiance is a gift in itself to be enjoyed. If you are like most men, a radiant woman can inspire you for hours or days. Remember, the desire she arouses in you is a blessing in itself. Acting on that desire and pursuing her is another matter entirely, dependent on whether such an action would truly serve both of you or not. But the mere inspiration felt while beholding a radiant woman is one of nature's gifts to you, the gift of feminine blessing. Because that's one of the gifts of the feminine, which is radiance, like the sun. The sun just shines the warmth to everyone, not necessarily expecting a return. Yet the feminine can radiate that kind of love or beauty to her surroundings, like a flower. A flower just blooms just to be enjoyed. But it doesn't mean, we're going to snip that flower and take it home with us and then watch it die. um, it's it's really based on enjoying it and then deciding what action would most serve the both of you. So that's the really important part. That's where the superior man comes in, because a lot of times we may get lost in our lower, more primal desires rather than focusing on what will truly gift the world. Let me see my notes here. Right, so the gift of feminine blessing, because when we feel that energy in us, that sexual energy is very powerful, right? It's the seat of creative energy, energy that we can use to create. Could be used to create another human, but could be used to create art, could be used to create productivity upon our purpose, right? It's at the end of the day how we choose to use it and the intention behind it. Is it to satisfy our ego? Or is it to serve a higher purpose in the world? The next time you come upon a woman who sends a thrill through your body, relax into the thrill. Let her waves of feminine energy move through your body like a deep massage. Breathe fully without resisting the joy her sighting affords you. Breathe the joy all through your body down to your toes. Don't stare at her. Don't even interact with her. But when you see her and you experience your attraction, fully allow the energy of attraction to move freely through your body. Learn to magnify and sustain your desire so your whole body and breath open and deepen by its force. As you behold her, receive her vision as a blessing. You got just again, think of energy as a hose. And actually, in the human, we can circulate energy. So think of it as like an O-shaped hose. So we just want to make sure that flow of energy is like flowing unobstructed. We're not trying to press it down or say it's bad. Or we just feel it, circulate it, and then we can use that energy towards furthering our mission. I have a note here in David Deida's book, The Enlightened Sex Manual. He talks a lot more about circulating energy and how to circulate energy. It's a fun read. I recommend that book. And I like to think of it as every man, has the divine masculine in him, and every woman has a divine feminine in her. In a way, when we're beholding and enjoying, it's our way of kind of worshiping at the temple of the divine feminine and receiving the gifts of the divine feminine. So, my takeaway for this chapter is to recognize that sexual attraction, physical attraction, actually, no, I'll say it's sexual attraction because it doesn't necessarily have to be physical. It's like, as long as there's this radiance, right, the masculine is naturally attracted to that regardless of how the woman appears physically. So sexual attraction, recognize that it's natural and it's healthy, just like how we will enjoy a sunset. What's most important is our response to that attraction, right? Are we going to allow that energy to flow and then use it to further our mission, or to respond in a way that best serves the both of you, right? Are we going to suppress it and tense and clamp down and kind of now we're holding back our true being, true gift from the world. So yeah, that's this week's video. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know, and I will see you next week.